Okay, as I stated, we're going to begin with the 24-25 follow-up collection. And I know I'm looking off to the side because that's the screen I have this on. Um, so the dates for advisor follow-up, it opened July 1st, which was the day after advisor year end was due. And it is due September 15th, which is next week. And the audit window closes October 2nd. So that means October 2nd is the last day you can submit the changes that are accepted during advisor follow-up collection. And this collection is meant only for data that was not reportable by June 30th. So that's kind of a change. They've become a lot more strict and tightened up about what they're accepting during that follow-up window. And I know that's caused a little bit of confusion. Okay, as I mentioned a little bit ago, it's very limited and very specific data points that are collected during this follow-up. School enrollments, what there is like 24-25 dropouts, summer 2025 completers, summer 2025 interdistrict transfers. So in other words, basically to get those end of year enrollments, especially for grad rates and stuff like that, kind of tightened up. And Stacy, if you hear me misspeak, please feel free to correct me. Then student demographics, race, ethnicity, gender, immigrant status, expected graduation year. But Max has big time clarified for us within the last day or so that anything that should have been correct on June 30th during the end of year window has to have a late request to officially change it. So let's say that you are going through your assessment data that Maggie Sis may have had you reviewing, and you realize that, oh, we reported the wrong language for this student or the wrong race, ethnicity for this student. They are asking for late requests to accept that. Kind of look at this to me, it's kind of like basically what's being collected in follow-up is stuff for graduates and graduation rate, and then also summer school grades if you have report a summer semester, the summer school grades and courses. Oops. Come on. Okay, the data uses for this follow-up collection, as I said, graduation and dropout rates. That is the number one thing they're focusing on. And then for the NEP, education profile, AQuest, and statewide assessment data. Next steps for districts are to review your errors. Look at your validation errors for your 24-25 school year to begin. And also recommend using lookups to assist in investigating any applicable errors like enrollment lookup by ID, student lookup by ID, special education lookups. And then also the error articles are on the help site, which is here on this slide. And this will be available out on our help site. Okay, when you're reviewing your errors, after you've looked at 24-25, go and look at 25-26 errors. You can use this information to assist you with your 24-25 follow-up collection. Really pay attention to those prior year errors because those can often be taken care of in your follow-up reporting. A lot of times it's like enrollment stuff. If correction is needed in the prior year and the follow-up collection is open, fix that data in the prior year in your 24-25 advisor. And it allows some limited enrollment updates in that follow-up window. If the correction is related to data other than enrollment, contact the service desk for a possible fix. For SPED exits, data will need to be reported in 25-26 because that's a hard close on June 30th for SPED. SPED summer completers, we kind of started this a couple of years ago because that is such a tough window. And that's because the federal reports are due from the state shortly thereafter. And so they have to have time to make sure everything's taken care of before they pass it on to the federal level. Because SPED data is not updatable in the follow-up collection, and you may need to report SPED summer completers after June 30th. That means, in other words, they were done. Their last day of services was after June 30th. You'll need to, well, schools will have to graduate students in 24-25. So create that graduation record in your 24-25 advisor. But it's only the enrollment. It's just that end enrollment graduation record. But then you exit them from SPED in 25-26. So that means 24-25, completer enrollment exit. Do not end the SPED record in 24-25. 25-26, you will submit another enrollment record that will also, so in other words, what we kind of tell folks is they create an enrollment in 25-26 with start and end dates before your first attendance day. They were kind of using, do you remember the dates for sure, Stacy? I know they were saying like around July 9th as an end date. That's not a concrete date. It's what works for you.
Using 1 and 7-2.
Is that what it was? Okay, thank you.
End date 7-2 for an exit date.
There you go. Did you hear Rita?
That's just the easiest way. And then you just also have to make sure it gets put in the SIS so that it matches what's in SRS.
Exactly. So that's your enrollment. Those are the dates they'd prefer you use if you can. Okay. And then also, so that exit SPED record goes in your 25-26. And you're going to get an error in your 25-26 reporting. Just comment it and leave it alone. And part of the reason for this is so that you're getting credit for that grad in 24-25. Okay, SPED summer completers. Use the SPED student exits verification report to view the data as it was on June 30th. Because that's the data utilized for the federal reports. And then look at additional SPED information as needed, or just kind of look your stuff over and make sure it looks right. District next steps, review reports, review advisor validation verification reports, 24-25 student reports, the recommended list. There's the URL here. Reporting windows. End of year. Students enrolled at the end of the school year, according to the state accountability data, that will be relocked on October 2nd at midnight. End of year locked reports. So this is the different views of reports you can look at advisor validation. End of year locked. These are the students enrolled at the end of the school year. These are the kids who are contained in that, according to state accountability data that was locked on July 1st. So that was your end of year data on June 30th. And then they locked it July 1st. Additional helpful reporting windows. So in other words, all these reporting windows are the different view. In some reports, it says view. In other reports, it says reporter window or something like that. And the full year, if you're looking at a full year view on a report, that is any student that's enrolled in your district at any time during the school year, even if they've already left. Any questions about those views? Because I know they can get kind of confusing. Final step for reviewing all of this, or finishing up your fall collections, I should say, approve that follow-up collection. That collection, the follow-up, that had a deadline of being finished on October 2nd and submitted, what the superintendent needs to approve it. Here's a list of resources. Of course, the service desk email and consortium SIS support, and a link to the Workday site, which is where the link was for this meeting. And always, if you have an opportunity, if your SIS has a vendor Workday or your consortium, attend those. And also NDE has Workdays for reporting periods that are out there on that Workday site. And the link for the Zoom is always on that here link. And of course, if you haven't already, subscribe to the bulletin. And if you have questions regarding how to do that, it shows here that URL so that you can do that. But you can always also submit a ticket to the service desk, and we'll also be glad to send you those instructions as well. Okay, some more resources. The advisor resource page has a calendar link on it, and that calendar link it'll tell you kind of different periods when, like your fall reporting period, when that is closed and when the audit window is open and closed. And it kind of tells you what data is being pulled for, what that data that's included there is also pulled for then. Look at the advisor data elements. There's a new one put out each year. 25, 26 has been out there for a while. Who reports what and systems involved reporting guidance. If you have any questions about what needs to be reported by your district for students in different situations like interim, things like that, there's a grid for those situations in many of those, and it kind of breaks down and tells you what your district is responsible for reporting. And again, if you have questions about it, please submit a service desk ticket. Advisor person ID guidance. There's a link for that on that advisor resources site, and a list of different districts and systems. Additional fall collection resources. Staff reporting is due September 15th. And there's a URL there for the staff reporting guidance, but that is also available in staff reporting when you're in the system in the portal. There's a link to it there. And there's a link to it on the advisor resources page. And staff reporting, The September 15th is get your staff in there, but you can make updates throughout the year until June 30th if you need to. So like if you realize, oh, I should have divided this out or had this different contract start day, you can change that. Also, if you have staff leave throughout the year, you can end date them throughout the year if their contract is over and they're leaving you, or if you hire new staff throughout the year, you can add them in here. It's still open for those types of things. Then CDC, the instructions for that are also out there on this URL, the different collections that are there. And again, advisor person ID. And there's pre-recorded presentation for that at this URL. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing this. Anybody have any questions? You guys are quiet. Anything in the chat?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. When you those summer exiters in Power School especially, don't enter and exit them on the same date. There needs to be at least 1 day difference between, or it won't publish. And please make sure that your exit date is after your entry date, which seems to be very logical, but you would be surprised how many people put the exit date prior to the entry date. But anyway, so that's my comment.
Those are very good points, Peggy. And every SIS is different. And so I'm always reluctant to say, how to set your dates up, other than you are absolutely right. Make sure your exit is after your entrance.
I'll stop the recording now, Kim.
Okay.
Okay.